They want fish round, you know.
My life. But yeah, man, I know. I already know what it is. But I'm waiting for them to think to do whatever they want to do because I have something for them.
We're alive. We're alive.
Let me just say, yeah. I didn't even get the notification. You see that? I'm not getting no notification.
So
None.
all along
Yo,
you're
this is
talking, all
crazy.
along you talk, all along we're talking, we're live, you know.
No. I just
the
hit the live
final, the
button.
final, the final
Yeah.
10 seconds. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. But see, they're not sending out the notifications that we're live. They're blocking our lives. So if they did that to Locono, they're doing that to us, right? That's crazy. Well, I didn't get it. I just no. Oh, all right. Honor everyone. Honor to everyone that's joining. Honor to everyone that's watching the chat. Honor to you all. Before we start, let me say I am. Well, this is Darkman XTV. I am an Ahuak American, what they call in colonial terms an Arawak American. I say peace, love, light to you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope all is doing well. Hope all is in the best of health. Hope all loved ones are doing well, and hope they are too in the best of health. And I say again, welcome to you all. To Feather Sun, honor to you. Brother IMQ, honor to you. Yeah, oh, you got the D Live and the thing? All right, because I'm multi-streaming from the D Live and on the YouTube. All right, so just in case they try to mess with it, it's also on the D Live right now. Okay, so I'm streaming from two platforms right now. To Selena Morel, honor to you. Await the Red Pit, honor to you. Yabua Z-Tech, Renzo Duckworth, Rel C, Con Dev, officially Key, Nadine Alexander, Stacy Jones, honor. Before we start, let me let our brothers introduce themselves. We'll start with brother Alex from the Yen Kun Kun, Piki Bo, the Arawaks of Examaica, Zamaka. Um, so go ahead, brother Alex.
And greetings to all here as usual, because we want to ensure that our people are aware of all that's happening and aware of their rights, aware of their identity, aware of their culture. So we're here once again and give thanks to be here, speaking to people far and wide. And we hope that what we say here today will be well received and our good intention behind putting this information out there today.
A brother American Arawak.
Yes, greetings, one and all. Big up all the people in the chat. Big up the YouTube community. This is American Arawaks, and I'm here to discuss important matters in regards to identity, status, self-determination, and preserving our culture. So, just stay tuned and, that's about it.
All right, so the reason why we've started this live today is a few things have come to our attention, and we want to make sure that the indigenous community understands what is happening now today, and understand not to fall victim or prey to any movement out there that is portraying certain ideologies to seem as if that certain communities are one and the same. There is a push to merge the indigenous community into the black ideology, and that is something that we must stay separate from. Okay, that is a trap. Do not fall for it. All right. We are indigenous people, indigeny to the Americas, of the original
Yep.
bloodlines of the ancestors of the Americas. Our ancestors did not identify as black. Our ancestors did not identify themselves as colored, Negro, any of those things. Okay? Our ancestors stuck with nationality. All right? The world is a world that is ran on nationality. Okay? Which means that as of now, today, I will try my best to not to refer to our brothers and sisters also of the earth in the Eastern Hemisphere as Africans. I will refer to them in their tribal names, in their national names of their heritage. Okay? They do not historically identify as Africans. We shall strip our tongue of the corporate construct of identifying any form of natural persons and tribes out there in the world. When you use the corporate construct, you are taking everything away. You're committing paper genocide on another nationality and as of yourself. All right. So we'll start it off by um, with Brother Alex. How would you like to approach this matter, brother?
Well, the biggest issue that we have facing us today is that because of eugenics based line of thinking, eugenics based ideology, where people are ranked based on their looks, based on what you physically see, in terms of, darkness of skin versus lightness of skin, or coarseness of hair versus straightness of hair. These physical characteristics are often used to lump people into particular groups. This is the same ideology that Adolf Hitler used when he was making his decisions as to the characteristics of the so-called master race, a race that was above all others and only had certain characteristics which were pleasing to their eye. Now, in this day and age, we are faced with the issue of, especially us from the Caribbean, the darker skinned people from the Caribbean, the Americas as a whole. We are faced with a new movement, of people who are identifying themselves with a color versus nationality or an ethnicity. Now, why is this dangerous? This is dangerous because with identifying such things for as opposed to identifying who you really are, your true identity, you land in a trap in which you will lose your rights because law is very specific. So law, you have to choose your words very wisely. Any legal document you're putting together, you have to choose your words very wisely. And why then should we be lackadaisical when we're speaking about race if everything else, or race or identity I should say, if everything else is so specific? So my message, the theme of my personal message to our people today will be careful what you identify with, right? Be cautious, right? And be sure to read very carefully, right? Educate yourself, right? And don't take shortcuts because black being a color doesn't tell me where someone is from. It doesn't give me an idea of the culture of that individual. It tells me it's not an identifier at all, except for the color of one's skin. If you call people black, okay, I would see that as being an insult more than anything else, because you're saying that, oh, you know, he's nothing, right? Because we found, and I'm sure X that you can pull it up at some point, that color in law, the word color, speaks to the semblance of a thing and not the actual thing. And that thing, that semblance, need not even have the characteristics of the actual article, the genuine article. It just has to be believed that it is. So, in other words, when you're saying that someone is to be judged off of color, you're not really saying that that individual is an individual or even a human being, but something like a human being. So we need to be abreast of these words and what they mean, because when lawyers, when judges, when politicians who have studied law extensively look at your documents, look at your so-called petitions and read about your movements, when they see black, they say, oh, well, no, this is not really anything, but you know, let people believe this. They'll miss out on human rights and indigenous rights, you know, the real stuff, you know, like self-governance, right, and self-sufficiency. We don't want them to actually have that. So let's just lure them into a false sense of security.
That's true.
So, you know, I would say that those are my opening remarks.
Okay. I agree. I agree with that. I agree with it. Brother American Arawak. American Arawak?
Yes. I was looking up the meaning of semblance. So just give it a more narrow it down for you guys. So I believe I pull it up. Let me just see here. Semblance, because to really narrow things down. You know what I'm saying? So the people could, you know, at least what we're trying to say. So according to what I'm reading from it's a noun and synonyms and antonyms of semblance. One, a display of emotion or behavior that is insincere or intended to deceive. So when you say semblance of something real, to deceive you into thinking it's real. Okay. And furthermore, you have other like synonyms, like for example, impersonation, performance, portrayal, image, persona, appearance, color. So it is also it's also synonymous with color, and we all know black is a color. Okay. So back to what Alex was saying about even identifying with a color as opposed to your.
Remind them that our people were once called colored people, right? So, you know,
right.
See that semblance is synonymous with color, right? That's quite intriguing, you know, because colored people,
yes,
right, mean that they're semblances of people. Let's put in that there.
It's deceiving. Yeah. Okay. And within this deception, you have been lured away from your natural and God-given or your free will. You know what I'm saying? So self-determine and self-govern. So you identifying as a color, as a semblance, you are really saying that you have no direction and you need somebody who like a parent to guide you or guardian. And with that being said, you now become a minority, because a minority is also someone who cannot take care of of oneself are people who cannot take care of themselves. They need somebody over their head to show them they're lost. They're lost at sea. They need guidance to come back on the land. So you see, it's very dangerous. You're gambling with your life, really. That's what you're really doing. You're gambling with your life. You're not thinking about your children's children. You're really playing this color game, and it's been our downfall. It's been what we are in the middle of right now, what we are dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear the people saying on these media platforms that the minority communities, they're not saying you're the minor as in the numbers. No, you could never be minor in numbers, because how can, unless they completely wipe us out? You know what I'm saying? It is impossible when you think about it. And I think one of the reasons why they resort to the color game was because they realized, man, we come here and invade this place, but we don't realize it was so much people here. So instead of wasting our resources trying to fight them and trying to wipe them out, why not just miseducate them? It's much more easy and much more resourceful. Exactly. Why not reach them? Why not show them that, you know, they don't know who they are and keep on manipulate their minds and their emotions? Why not keep doing that? I mean, it's for our benefit as a people to rise above these people and take their resources. So why not just resort to the pen? As I know, to go black and white it's much more resourceful than to use bullets or to hunt people and kill them.
That's why they said the pen is mightier than the sword, right?
Yes,
because they literally wrote you out of history by paper genociding you, by just changing your identity and throwing on a corporate construct onto you. And then you have those that look like you within your community that is teaching you this corporate construct, even though they know it's a corporate construct. They don't identify on any of their documentations with this corporate construct, but they make sure to get you to go out there, you who are minority in knowledge, not in numbers, minority in knowledge. They teach you to go against yourself. So pretty much you are the superior weapon that is being used to destroy you. So you are the weapon that is being used to fight against yourself. You just don't know it because of the information that you have been given by certain entities or ones within the community that you placed your trust upon. They misled you and they continue to mislead you like lambs to the slaughter. This is why the term sheep has come about. This is why they identify a lot of our people as sheep or the sheeple, because again, knowledge is power. And when you trust certain entities, you don't go behind and do the research. You sit there and you go and you identify as what they're telling you. So you're going out there, you're calling yourself black. Well, the black man is the most suffered man on this, and the black man is this. And not only are you doing that to you, you travel the world and you're going into these tribal cultures and you're getting them to try to identify as black, not knowing, well, the ones who are streamlining this or headlining it, they know. But you who are following those ones, you don't know. So the ones who are headlining it, they know. So you that don't know, you not knowing that what you're doing is you're trying to get these folks to disidentify with their nationality, because what comes with nationality is land. What comes with nationality is natural rights. What comes with nationality is your creator given rights. What comes with nationality is that rule of law shall always back you and have your side. What comes with being black is being marked as a corporate entity. What comes with being black is being marked as one that is nationless, landless, ancestralless. You're saying that you don't have none of these things. Okay. Now, what kind of world is it? A citizen lives in? A citizen lives in a corporate construct world. Okay, indigenous man and woman lives in their tribal, their environment of their tribal laws, their natural laws, their ancestral laws, their ancestral way of life outside of the corporate construct. And because the indigenous man and woman lives like that, it means that corporate construct, the corporations that you call cities, states, federal governments has no jurisdiction over the indigenous man or woman unless you willingly contract with the indigenous man, with the corporate construct as state, city, and federal. Okay? So when someone is calling you black, when someone is identifying you as colored or African American, they're saying that you are an indentured servant onto the corporate construct. They're saying that you are nationless, that you are landless, that you have no ancestry whatsoever. They're messing with the mic. Are they?
Yeah, I was chopping up a
messing
bit.
with the mic?
Yeah, I was chopping up a bit.
Could you? Yeah. Were you able to make out what I was saying?
Yeah, I heard it, you know.
Okay. All right. Because they're gonna tamper with this stuff, right? It was before. Okay. So this is again, we are in a fight. The only fight that is going on, there's no fight against black people. There's no fight against African Americans. The fight is against original indigenes of any landmass in the world in which you are from. Now, we here as indigenous people here on this panel, we are indigenous. We are indigenous to the Americas. We are the original descendants of the original ancestors of the Americas. Okay, so anyone who identifies with the original descendants of the Americas, okay, and not black, a corporate construct, a fiction. All right, you're saying that you're not real, a fiction. Okay, then when you identify as being indigenous to the Americas, you are saying this is it. This is you. This is you here. You've been here before anything and anyone else, and anything else that is here now came after you. Meaning that their ways, their system, their corporate policies don't go for you unless you go ahead and contract with them. If you don't contract with them, then none of this goes for you. And you must understand what these things mean. Now, racism is an illusion. Okay, there's no black man versus the white man. Those are agent organizations to portray as if there's the black man versus the white man. And just like subliminal programming, it trickles down onto your young ones who are in front of these television and is being programmed. So when the melanated brother and sister young ones go out there and the Caucasian ones go out there, they're looking at each other in a bigotry type of way, mindset, being programmed. Now, how do they ramp up the programming? They created groups to put in the communities. The Democratic Party created the KKK, and they created Pan-Africanism. Okay, the colonial forces created your Nation of Islam and other organizations within our communities. All right, religious organizations within our communities also as well. All right. So when they created these organizations, those were made and pushed to perpetuate these corporate titles, these corporate names, these corporate things that has nothing to do with the living, breathing man. Has nothing to do at all with the living, breathing man. Okay, I'm gonna let you take it from here, Brother American Arawak. I'm gonna get back Brother Alex on the line. It just cut off with him, so I'm gonna get him back. All right.
Yes. Y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So just to pick up from where you left off, as far as when you're saying indigenous, okay. The root, the root, uh, the root word for
Yes.
for indigenous is indigena, right? Which is Latin. Indigena means one sprung from the soil. Now, the reason why we use the word indigenous is because we already know that they include even people who's not really originally from here as indigenous. But if you think about it, people in general are indigenous to the earth. Okay? Now, there is provisions there to protect people who claim indigenous ancestry. We already know about the Constitution here in North America. That's for Indians. Indians is can be and is synonymous with indigenous. Okay? Because it's talking about the first people of the Americas in total. Now, the Constitution is there to protect Indians as Indians not taxed. Okay? But the reason why we use indigenous, it's a broader term. Because what happened when you leave North America, then what? When you come from outside of North America jurisdiction, then what? What is there to protect you? So you got to think about these things when you're traveling, even in the Americas. You have to find the resources that will protect you entirely. Not so much. Not that I'm saying.
You know,
Huh?
if I could interject,
Yeah.
this is why human rights are so important, because let us say that I visit England. I can't call myself an indigenous man in England, right? I may be of the nation that I'm from when I'm there, but I can't go there and say I must get indigenous right. But every human being is entitled to human rights, and therefore people need to stop saying strange things like Black Lives Matter. No, all life matters. The trees, the animals, all sorts of plants. You know, we as human beings, all life matters. And let's not get caught up in these legal fallacies saying that Black life, because when an oppressor goes up on a podium and gives a speech and patronizing dark-skinned people and say, oh, Black Lives Matter, they sit down in their legal circles, their discussion circles at their social clubs, and the lawyers especially will get together and laugh at you people and say, oh, look at how we trick them. You know, look at how they think that we care, right? But they're saying that Black Lives Matter to say that, you know, you guys aren't really human. So don't worry, you won't get human rights. Now, you could look up, I think it was you, Arawaks, that found the black codes. I think it was in Virginia. And the black codes are slave laws. Okay? So when you're saying that Black Lives Matter, you're calling yourself a slave. And if you want your own special branch of rights, then they were always there for you. Those black rights or lack thereof that were put into the black codes. Okay, so people need to make themselves aware of the fact that there is no black land. Okay, there's no black nation. All of these things are fallacies. In the continent that is called Africa, these aren't black nations, these are indigenous nations with our indigenous brothers and sisters. a lot of whom look just like us, a lot of whom are very honorable as well, a lot of whom very fiercely defend their culture, a lot of whom won't accept you calling them black because they have a vibrant culture, and black represents cultural erasure, identifying one off of their physical characteristics represents cultural erasure and takes away one's human rights. Above all, I am the creation of the Most High Entity, the creator of all. So because of that, I consider myself set apart in this universe. Next, I am a human being, and I identify with my human brothers and sisters. And then after that, I am an indigenous. I am indigenous to the island of Jamaica, now called Jamaica. And this is how I've always identified. If I may share a personal story, I wanted in my time of ignorance, when I was a child and I was about 13 or 14, I was swayed by the media and all of those things. I got swept up into some sort of, racial fervor when I was at school, and, and some friends wanted to create a group called Black Like We, right, to say that we're defending our people's rights, right, from an early age. But when I went to my mother that evening and I said to her, oh, we want to create this group, she said, no, don't you dare do that. So I said, what's the problem? She said, but you're not black. So I said, what am I? She said, you're West Indian. You're from this island. So I said, oh. And it's now, as I learn more, what she was saying sinks deeper into my psyche. And so I have to defend my people, even those who are unaware. I have to try to bring them to the awareness that you're not black, because half of the people who are calling themselves black, if you were to be identified with a census, they wouldn't call you black either. They would write any real ethnographer or anthropologist may write to us being brown, because black is its own thing, right? And most people are not that shade anyway. Okay? So, yes, Arawaks, you're completely right. I'm sorry if I went off on a bit of a tangent, but you're completely right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
As humans, if we're abroad, we have to identify if we travel, we're humans. Okay?
Yes.
And that's who we are.
Yes. And
let me just say something real quick.
Yes.
Let me say something real quick. So Kapat Step on Lacona, I had sent you guys a link, yeah? So check your stuff, all right? Because I know that you guys also have collected a lot of information also throughout the time on the ideology of the word black or African American, these terms that take us outside of our proper construct, okay? And let me just say honor to everyone that's joining, Sister Turkey, to honor to you, honor, and everyone that just joined, honor. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, and yes, when we use the term human, right? We are already aware that in I think, what dictionary was that? The law dictionary. One of those law dictionary describe a human as a monster. However, we are aware when we say human, it's a two-part word. It's hue and man. So we are a man with hue. Okay. So just to separate ourselves from saying we are monsters, because we know the trickery, we know the sorcery in the word.
We are living upright men and women.
Right.
We are the living, sentient, breathing, upright men and women with souls. If you want to be more specific.
Right.
True.
And when you say man include children and a woman. So the first man was a woman with a womb, a man with a womb. Okay,
Yes,
because if you look at the order of nature, the order of things, nothing cannot exist without coming out of a womb. There's nothing existing
that's right.
exist before it has to develop in a womb first, and then before it manifests. So the first man
Right.
was what you call a woman. Okay.
Yes, yes.
We gotta put everything in the proper perspective and get out the mind of
First womb,
yeah.
first womb, the
Mm-hmm.
first womb is the earth, right? And our
Yeah.
people recognize the earth as being our mother and call her Atabe, right?
Yes.
She is the earth mother, right? And she is our mother. She incubated us first, right? Because everything is by design. Everything as we know see it as an order and a function. So therefore, the creator had to first create the incubation center, the womb, in order for fertile life.
Yes.
The creative force was bringing forth fertile life. He didn't just, or that entity, because it would be genderless, right? Didn't just jump up and say, oh, you know what, the earth or whatever. It was a process. And so we recognize the earth as being our mother. You know, so what you said there, brother, is very much in keeping with indigenous spirituality.
Yes. And also, this is also synonymous with are you hearing me?
Yeah.
You're sharing something. Okay, my bad. I thought I got dropped off and trying to come back in. Yes.
No,
So what is synonymous with even when you plant a seed in the earth, right? That seed cannot develop properly if it's not in the earth, the womb of the earth. And when you put something below the dirt, that's within the womb of the mother, the womb of our mother, which is earth. Okay? Our geo. They call her geo as well. You know? So yeah, so as far as using these terms, these colorable titles, because they are only colorable and they have no real standing in natural law, it's only a figment of your imagination. So if you want to stay in the imaginary construct of what is out here and still portray it by using your energy to bring it to some kind of life, then the karma or the karmatic weight is gonna be on you and your children and your children's children. So it's left up to you to change it. Go ahead, Damon. I see you share the screen. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on something, right? To show you that when you're talking about black and white, it's not speaking on skin complexion, all right? Those are just illusions thrown out there to keep you distracted from the real topic at hand. So here's a definition of free white persons, right? And it says here, free white persons referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14, 1870. So for those who want to ask for the reference and for the source, the Naturalization Act, July 14th, 1870. All right? Write it down, make sure that you store it. So free white persons referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by July 14th, 1870 has meaning naturally given to it when first used in one stat 103 C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps and Finns, and the Basques and Albanian. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek Latin Phoenician, the mixed Greek Latin Phoenician, and North African inhabitants. It don't get no more clear than that. And it goes down to saying Syrian, Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia, and so on. So Indo-European. Yes.
But you know, at least 2 or 3 of the people that you mentioned as free white people in that definition, the Magyars and Moors,
Yes.
and the North Africans, which would also include the Egyptians and those people. They're all that skin.
Yes.
There was an article recently, speaking about an Egyptian family that recently immigrated to the US, and they're talking about how is it that Egyptian people get white status, right?
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with skin color, nothing
Exactly.
to do with skin color.
And if you remember that video with the Egyptian man speaking on how when he applied for his visa to come to the Americas, that they wanted him to classify on his paperwork as white. But at the time, some of us, we didn't get. We thought, oh, how dare they? Oh, they were disrespecting him. No, they were protecting him from the discrimination that he would have been facing when he came here to classify as black. Okay, so they have this classification system, this corporate construct system, and it doesn't matter the complexion from over there. When they come over here, their classification is white. This is why the Moors identify as free white persons, because they're Africans. All right, North Africans. Okay, so this illusion of black versus white, that's all it is. It's just an illusion. All right, when you get out of the colorism construct, can you understand me?
And that's what.
Hold on,
Alex, bro.
Alex, hold on. You guys can't understand. I'm messing with my mic. Every time I go to speak, they cut me off.
Kind of chopping up over there,
They
man.
cut me off. Yeah, it's them. They're cutting me off. Every time I go to speak, they're cutting me off. They're messing with the Hold on. Let me see something. Let me see what I could do. Yeah, give me a second, y'all. Let me see what I can do. I don't know. Let me try to get my. I'm good now. When I'm not talking, I'm good. Let's do this again. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna. So let's try this one more time. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna go get my headset and see if that makes a difference. All right.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm picking up from where you was saying about free white persons. Being it's not of a color of a skin. You see, it's all about geographical locations of where people migrate from, and because
It's all about
right, and because here it's a industrial kind of capitalist society, so capitalist society they have to make these corporate definitions of people's geographical location. So in doing so, they created the Naturalization Act.
You have to remember the caste system and why the caste system that it was even India, right? It was to belittle a certain section of the population. And when you check out the history of the section of the population that they call the untouchables or the Upanishad, right? Those people were the original builders of the indigenous civilizations, those glorious civilizations in East India, right? When the invasion of the so-called Aryans or the Indo-Aryans took place, and this is well documented, right? They sought to belittle the indigenous people in order to take their land and to take their position. So what you found out was that those Upanishads were so subjected to a life where there was no upward social mobility for them. You were stuck in that caste for as long as you live, right? You're untouchable for the rest of time. And as you went up a color scale, you had the people who didn't have to work. You could just sit down, you have land, you have privilege and all of those things. So as indigenous people, we need to stop calling our brothers and sisters black, right? We need to stop calling our brothers and sisters colors and those things. We need to find out, brother, sister, where are you from? What did your grandparents tell you? What did your parents tell you? Let's start to be more personal with people now if we're interested in them, other than just looking at how they look and saying that, oh, you're a terrible person because of your skin color. That's how certain people look at us. So we need not join in with that.
Exactly.
Yes. And the etymology of color means to hide. So when you're saying the color, what are you hiding? You're hiding your true identity. What are you doing? What are you doing to yourself?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
And then this all boils down to where we are now at this point, trying to organize ourselves as a people to have a voice on the platform, the OAS platform, the UN platform, because that's where it is, people. If you want some kind of upward mobility, you're gonna have to become diplomatic or diplomats.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You have to sit at the world table, right? You have to
Yep.
become an actor on the world stage. When I was studying international relations at the University of the West Indies, right, I heard so many times actors on the international stage, and I wondered, what did that mean? We have to study that, and that means that there are people who are active on the world stage. They have a say. They have a seat at the table. What of our people? When are our people going to have a seat at the table? The time is now, right? Well, I don't even want us to dwell so much on this color thing, other than to tell people that our people who are listening in, and hopefully other people will get the message, stop identifying as this. That's all we need to see. We need to know. We need to organize ourselves so that the displaced indigenous people amongst us who are ignored, whose original tribal groups have been eroded, right, and cut off from their culture, we need to create something for them to be able to come back to center and come back to who they are. And that's why we created the West Indian Tribal Society, right? So that people can identify with something that's going to take them to meaningful places in their life.
Yeah.
As Arawaks said, let's sit at the table with these UN people. We assume too much. We assume that because they are this or they were the former colonizers or the current. No. How is it that other people get results? We of the West Indies need to start getting results as well. Okay, we the indigenous descendants of the original people of the West Indies, we their lineal descendants, okay, need to rise up in a lawful way, non-belligerent, and sit at the table with those people on one level playing field. Them acknowledging who we acknowledging who they are, and through mutual respect come to an agreement.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
Now,
Yep.
someone put that it all depends on the father's lineage. No, it depends on. It doesn't all depend on the father's lineage, because when you go back ancestrally, a lot of the men were taking on the names of the females, right? A lot of the men were taking on the names of the women. So it depends on both parentage.
All people were not patriarchal.
Yeah.
You know, all people were not patriarchal. You have some people that were patriarchal, but we in the West Indies, even to this day, to this very day, are not patriarchal. I carry my mother's last name, and that's a tradition in my family. I should have about 10 names, you know, right? But because it is unwieldy and documents, they only gave me a certain amount. But my family tradition follows the lineage of the mother, right? And that's how it has always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome, couple of stuff. Welcome.
Welcome to the panel, Mr. Professor.
Yeah, peace. Peace to the panel and peace to the chat. Peace to everyone.
Yes.
Greetings, Kappa. Greetings.
Peace, Alex. Peace.
Yeah.
So let me try to go over again this free white person stuff, because I don't understand that when I'm speaking, I get cut out, right? Because to show you that someone is deliberately doing it, because I'm going to secret to how
They're doing it again.
Stuck, right? They're doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone is messing with my.
Just now.
And the reason why I know, because I have Alex on speakerphone from my phone, and he's not chipping out when he speaks. But when I speak, I start chipping out. So someone is starting tampering with the microphone of the platform I'm speaking.
They're doing it right now. Just speak, bro.
Yeah.
You know that I am happy that they're doing it, because it shows us that they actually care about what we're saying.
Yeah, they care.
It's hitting them where it hurts. So this is not a discouragement. If they do anything to us now, we got the word out there already. We already rebutted the presumption concerning our group. We are not black. So
Exactly.
tell them to do their worst.
Exactly.
Right.
That is true. And we don't identify as such.
And True King just put up something in the chat, said, but a woman can trace both sides genetically. Why is that? Because everything that's not true, because the woman have both chromosomes. The woman has both chromosomes. The man only have one chromosome. So genetically, the woman is the only species that have both chromosomes.
So you could trace back, if you're gonna trace back your genetic links through DNA to the Americas, then the woman genetics traces back further than the man when it comes to genetics.
Yeah, and the problem, you know, people or listeners need to understand, science is not infallible. These tests are not infallible.
Mm-hmm.
They were created by a man. You're driving down the road, your tire blows out, or your engine cuts out. Isn't your car scientific? Isn't it a breakthrough of modern science? But can it go on forever? Can it last forever? No, it can't. Right? Certain cars, if they go above 100 miles per hour, they start to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still considered a great innovation.
Yeah.
So it's no different. Their science is not infallible, right? What our people need to do more is study genealogy, right? Both DNA and paper genealogy, you know. I'm not discounting DNA science, but I would reiterate to everyone that do not try to test their genetics, their DNA, to say which tribe you're from, unless you, using your genealogy, understand yourself to be descended from a particular people, and then you might try to test it, almost like a paternity test against some ancient skeleton of those people. there have been many skeletons found here in Jamaica, and I am a part of a set of people who are working to get those skeletons sequenced, their DNA sequenced, so that the people of the island who would like to know how well they're related to the original people who Columbus came here and saw can do that as well if they want. But start with the paper documents first. Where are you people from? And take it from there. Don't jump up and buy something for entertainment purposes. Get serious with who you are.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Y'all hear me? Y'all
Yeah.
hear me? Yeah. So
Mhm.
True King said, the woman don't have the Y chromosome. Well, True King, what you need to know, the Y is a mutation of the X chromosome. Okay? The woman
That's
have both chromosomes, but what happened? Why it become a Y? It's just because that little the Y it mutates from X, so it just have one leg less. So now the Y have 3 legs. It was really 4 because we all started out as females first in the womb, and then we mutate into male. Okay, so that's what you
Exactly.
know.
People don't know that I learned that at high school.
So let's let me try to share this thing one more time, yeah, because they're kicking people out the chat. So we're still gonna go. We're still gonna go. On a local empire. On welcome to the panel, brother.
Manners, everybody. Pick up yourself, Darkman X. Bam, pick up yourself. Alex, pick up yourself. Mr. Upset, pick up yourself. ITC, pick up yourself.
Big up Chief Inca, big up.
Peace, Inca.
Oh, y'all. Easy.
Mm-hmm. So
Yes, man.
again, back to free white person. Free white persons. Free white persons referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1817, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in 1 Stat 103C, Section 3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lats, and Finns, and the Basques and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sieli, and the mixed Slav and Tartar inhabitants of South Russia. Now, if you don't know what Tartar means melanated person, okay, of South Russia, okay? It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixes Indo-European, Dravidian, Syrian, or Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Now, if you're going to ask for the source, the Naturalization Act, July 14, 1870. Okay, there it is. Now, on here, we have North African inhabitants, the free white persons. That means they could be as dark as the night sky. Their status when they come here is free white persons. You have the Tartar inhabitants. That's the same thing as someone who is very dark of hue complexion. They are also free white persons, and these are the ones from South Russia. Okay? They're free white persons. it don't get the Moorish inhabitants, yes, and the Basques and
the Basques are the indigenous people of Spain.
there you go.
They are dark skin.
Exactly. And then the Moorish inhabitants, free white persons. So this is why the Moors tell you they're free white persons. They are not, folks. They're not. Moors are not originally of the American hemisphere. So when you adopted that, what you did was you gave up your nationality for a foreign entity's identification of their corporate status as free white persons. All right. So when folks we talk about the SF-181 form, stay away from that. It's a trap. Okay. All right, we can close out. Let me close that one down. Papa, step up on if you guys want to chime in. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, big up everybody. You can hear me. You know what it is. You think you need to palm mute, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, big up everybody. What I just she just caught the last what 5 minutes you was talking about. What's the discussion about, if you don't mind me asking?
It's about the identification of the Black identity and why it is important that as indigenous people we don't fall or put ourselves in the category of taking us into that ideology or take anything that takes us away from our nationality.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, why is this important? I mean, come on, everybody was told, you know, where they come from, you know, personally by their family members, their great grandparents or their grandparents, so, you know, they always pass down something to, you know, basically their parents and their other parents, their great grandparents pass down their old story to them. You know, it's important for us to go back and seek and speak to our relatives and get the information, you know, that you're not going to learn in history books at school. What it is, it's the school curriculum that people are going by. They're not going by, like you said, their ancestors, you know, or their relatives, you know, actually getting the clarification that they need or the clarity that they need to put these things at ease, you know, where they know where they come from and nobody can you know, take that away from them. Now, what we allowed foreigners to take away our heritage, you know, from us, like what you're saying, like we all say, this is why it's important for us to know where we come from, know our history, know our heritage, you know, our personal story, our family story, you know, our tribal story, you know. We can't allow people to do these type of things and steal our inheritance away from us, you know. Even like people like places like Ghana, for example, where they're trying to push the narrative now because of the George Floyd situation. Allegedly, he passed away or didn't pass away. They're using that as an incentive of promoting that, you know, that the Americans from the States, right? That's a company, but I mean from that state of North America, the states of North America, trying to persuade them to come back to Africa where they don't know Africa about. I mean, they tried this in 2019, it didn't work. As the majority, you know, the vast collective of the majority of the Americans, you know, even the ones who think they're African, who say these type of things, didn't leave. There was an epic fail. I mean, they're only using this George Floyd situation to promote, to basically what I'm trying to say is to move the Aboriginal people, the indigenous people, like what the colonizers did, the Caucasian people are doing. You know, removing them off their land, the Indian Removal Act, you know, for example, you know, trying to get us to remove us, you know, off our land and go to somewhere like, for example, the West Indians have done over here in the UK or Europe, where we was invited and we built the country for these people. That's why they invited us here, you know. Um, so yeah, we must know, because, you know, people use us and abuse us because we're ignorant of knowledge and learn laws and these type of things. And this is why we're in the situation we are in, because we spend too much time and our attention and our focus to what other people say, or foreigners, people like us. We don't know where they come from, you know, and we don't pay attention to foundation and what our people are saying. You know, the ones going to tell you the truth, not the sellout ones. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Pick up yourself, that man. Everybody in the panel, everybody in the chat.
Go ahead, Copper Step.
Yeah, peace. So with the word black, like for example, one time I was reading Black's Law Dictionary, and funnily enough, I was in the B section, and I actually stumbled across something called the Black Act, and I'd never heard of this before. So like anybody that has Black's Law Dictionary, you can actually go and read this. If you go to section B, you will find something called the Black Act of 1723. And then how this came about was it was between 1721 and 1723. So for about 2 years, there was a series of riots and poaching. And this took place in a part of England called Windsor Forest. And this was to do with, you know, so-called English people. You know, they would be pale in skin tone. So again, these weren't so-called black-skinned people. These would be what people would call Europeans or Caucasians. And then what happened was October 1721, you had 16 poachers. So they raided the park of the Bishop of Winchester. And then they actually got dubbed the Wolven Blacks. These group of, you know, pale poachers, rioters, they were referred to as the Wolven Blacks of Wolven Forest. And then the act came about basically as legislation to kind of counteract, you know, their robberies and their attacks on the elites, you know, of the area of Windsor. So even as far back as the early 1700s, you could see that, you know, black was not a connotation that was exclusively fixed on somebody that had, you know, what they would call coarse hair and dark skin. And then even in Hawaii, early 1900s, the census takers, what they would do is when you had people from Cape Verde, you know, island, people that look like us, and also Puerto Ricans that look like us, these people would be, you know, they would be categorized as white people, simply because the Cape Verdeans are from the Eastern Hemisphere. And the Negro Puerto Ricans, they would be listed as white because they could speak Spanish. So, you know, this qualified them for not being black people. So, yeah, people need to understand that black is not scientific. You can read it anywhere. It even tells you as part of the census guidelines for North America. It tells you that it tells you themselves from their own office, from their own census office, that it's not rooted in any biology or science at all. So it's never been about science. It's never been about blood or genetics or lineage. And then, you know, when people talk about copper colored now, and then they'll say that, you know, copper colored means the Hollywood Indian, right? But it's funny because, you know, me personally, I've read books where the Australian Aborigines, or they like to be called Indigenous Australians, you can find them described as being dark copper, brown in color. You can even find books describing the Eta people, you know, the original Filipinos who are still out there, you know, with the bushy froze and the brown skin. You can find books describing them as being of a dark brown hue, a dark copper brown hue, in fact. Even in so-called Africa, you got the Fulani tribe. Fulani translates to red men, and they're described as being copper-colored people. If you look at a Fulani person, I mean, what do they look like? So it's interesting to me that all these other original inhabitants in Africa, in Australasia, in Asia are described as being copper-colored people, and, you know, they look like me and you. But somehow in the Americas, you know, the color copper becomes something else. You know, the original face becomes something else. This doesn't exist in the rest of the world. And when you travel around the world, you're going to see that people just appreciate and they understand who the original inhabitants of these places are. You know, even if they've been confined to the forest and jungle regions, they still acknowledge that, you know, they do know and understand that these people were the first kind, you know, the first of the first. It's only really in the Americas and in England, there's this, people have to understand that, you know, these are two brothers or two sisters, you know, of the same body. So they have worked together for longer than I'd care to try and think, you know, to create this false reality where somehow, you know, black means this and white means that. I'm telling you, outside of these two places, right, outside of Britain and outside of North America, these things do not exist. They do not exist at all, you know. So I think people should, if they can, they should travel. I think they should go around the world. They should speak to other people. They should talk to other cultures and say, also, what do you know about my people? And you'll be pleasantly surprised what people know about you, you know, a whole plane ride away somewhere else. You know, people, even here, even in a place like England, people are very aware that everybody's not all the same. The only thing is that there's a culture where over here, people just kind of quietly go about their business. They don't talk about these things in front of you, you know, within earshot. But I mean, if you put them on the spot, you really question them about what they know, things that they know, they'll eventually, most of them will open up and tell you that, yes, they do have a realization that everyone and everything is not the same, but, you know, they follow a facade because they're just basically following what their elites have put out there, which is, you know, one lineage from a chimpanzee in Ethiopia, one race to human race out of Africa. They're just going with the script and the program because it benefits them, not because they truly believe in it and they think it's true. It's just convenient. You have to understand it's convenient for everybody else to follow this script, but it's not convenient for you. Everyone knows it's not convenient for you, but again, they're not going to tell you because they don't need to. You know, the way they see it is for you to work it out. You know, if you was meant to come into the truth, then you will stop listening to us and you will do your own thing. That's just the way they see it. You know, it's not that I like it and I want it to be that way, but they see it as is your responsibility for you to know who you are. Okay, we colonized you, we took over, we brain scrubbed you, but it's still your responsibility because, you know, if you really wanted to undo it, you could, and you could put us in our place and you could just tell us that it's all nonsense and I don't believe you.
Facts. I mean, Copper, even the video that we saw today, you know, regarding, you know, places like Colombia, you know, Nicaragua, you know, basically, you know, the South and the Central, you know, of America, right? Even some places in North America where, like, for example, the Gullah Geeks, they speak Patois, or, you know, Creole, you know, which, you know, comes from the Antilles, you know, the West Indies, you know, and is found around the Americas. I was like, right, it's amazing that, you know, I never knew that Colombians, you know, or people from Nicaragua, you know, spoke the same dialect as us from the islands. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, right,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, eventually I will try and start doing this on my channel. I'll start doing little segments where I'll show people other parts of the Americas to do with family names and stuff like that. Certain migration patterns that will help people maybe to find where their other distant family might be, because a lot of the times what we're doing is we're skipping the whole Atlantic Ocean on a wild trip in our head to try and find some people on the other side, and we're ignoring all the places which are on our doorstep. I mean, if you're from so-called Jamaica, I mean, there's more chance your family are in Cuba or Panama or Suriname or Costa Rica than in Ghana or Cameroon or Senegal. And I mean, those places are not close to where you are at all. But I mean, Cuba is, Panama is, Suriname is. All these places are very close by to you, and you forget these places and you disregard them to try and find yourself amongst all these other different phenotypes somewhere else, and you're looking at them, you know, and they don't.
Don't forget the islands of Tahiti and Vanuatu and islands and all of those places where those people look exactly like Jamaican people.
I'm glad you brought that up, you know, because the funny thing is with these people now, there's a reason, again, I ask people questions to try and find where they're at. Because I'm like, don't you find it funny that in school, I mean, even for myself, when I was in school, you never hear about Australasia. There's no textbooks in your school about that place or those people. There's nothing about it. There's nothing in your history class about it. There's barely anything in your geography class about that part of the world. And I tell people it's all a system and it's all a reason. Because if you looked on these people long enough, you would see you, your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father, your grandparents, your uncles and aunties staring back at you. So they're not going to tell you about these type of places. And furthermore, those people over there are heavily isolated. They've made next to no contact with outsiders of any complexion at all. So they can't even, I mean, at first they tried to say these people are mixed with Denisovan genetics because, you know, they need to solidify themselves in the world by claiming bloodlines that don't belong to them. But I mean, if you're, you know, astute and you're intelligent enough, you'll see that, well, that's impossible because these people haven't touched you in any way, culturally, physically. They've not been around you like that. So how is it that these people are unmixed and they look like you, but they're going to tell you that your genetics is a melting pot, you know, or you're a bit of African, you're a bit of the slave master rapist, and you're a little bit of a Native American or a Taino, and that's what creates the Negro of the West. It don't make no sense.
Yagu Azita.
And how is it that our mixes here in Jamaica can look so identical, almost like a national identical mix, where no matter how much different mixes that they're claiming that you have, we all come out almost the same complexion and
Right.
same facial features and all of that. Why don't we have a wide mosaic of people looking different?
Right.
That's true.
Exactly. And then people need to realize as well, even in the so-called American South, what was it? Only 1.3% of pale men were slave owners, only 1.3% out of 100. So how is everybody mixed then? How was he raping his way through the whole of the American South? And then even in the other parts of the Americas as well, the people that, you know, so-called slave owners were in such, you know, a ridiculously small percentage. It doesn't add up again. They couldn't rape their way through a whole hemisphere that they were foreign to. It don't make sense. So if we haven't been interacting with these Caucasians like that, or these other people, then why have their genetics not worn off? How come, you know, we haven't gone back to looking like people in the Eastern Hemisphere, in the Western Hemisphere?
Now I want to read something to everyone. Yeah. Now this had something to do with well, this is an article that I found, and it says freedom to slaves, right? I'll point something out to you folks. It says, whereas the president of the United States did on the first day of the present month issue his proclamation declaring that all persons held as slaves in certain designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free, and that the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authorities thereof, would recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons, and whereas there's a piece of it missing, but I think it says county of Fredericks. Yes, as Frederick is included in the territory designated by the proclamation of the president, in which the slaves should become free. I therefore hereby notify the citizens of the city of Winchester and of said county of said proclamation, and of my intention to maintain and enforce the same. I expect all citizens to yield a ready compliance with the proclamation of the chief executive, and I admonish all persons disposed to resist its peaceful enforcement, that upon manifesting such disposition by acts, they will be regarded as rebels in arms against the lawful authority of the federal government and dealt with accordingly. All persons liberated by said proclamation are admonished to abstain from all violence and immediately betake themselves to useful occupations. The officers of this command are admonished and ordered to act in accordance with said proclamation and to yield their ready cooperation in its enforcement. When they say cooperation, it has co-operation in its enforcement. And this is R.H. Milroy, Brigadier General, Commanding Officer. All right, this is January 5th, 1863. And it says freedom to slaves. Right? I will post this in the post section later on because it's an image. All right, but I want to point out something. Nowhere did it said Black African American in here, and this is what I need folks to understand. When the writers of today are writing, they are turning certain terminologies to how they want it to be to fit the corporate narrative of today. Again, when you go back through these old documents, it doesn't mark you as African American. Now, if you read this document here, if you got the impression that they were only talking about melanated slaves, you're bugging, because it didn't say the complexion of the slave in this document, which if you go back in history and redo your research in history, you're going to see that they were Caucasian slaves and they were melanated slaves on this land. Okay, now who were the melanated slaves? They didn't mention any Africans in this. They were those of whom today they call American Indians, whom they wrongfully now call African Americans, Pan-Africans. Well, not Pan-African, African Americans. And the reason why I say not Pan-African, because you could come from anywhere in the world and call yourself a Pan-African. Okay, so people who they call Black, colored, Negro, African American of the Americas. All right, that's what they have to throw in those terms. Every time you see a writer write about you or write anything and mentions the word Black or African American, you stop them right there. That's paper genocide. They're writing you out of history ancestrally, and that is very dangerous. Okay, go ahead, brother Alex.
Yeah, that deprives you of your human rights. You know, that deprives you of your human rights. And, you know, I would say, in contributing to what you said, and probably as my closing statement, that our people need to have more self-confidence. We need to be more aware of our history. We need to stop allowing slavery and our legacy of slavery to define us. Because the thing is, a lot of our people who cling to that slavery narrative, and every year, August here in Jamaica, they have Emancipation Day, right? And it's ingrained in the psyche of the people that on this day, 200 or 300 years ago, our people were free. You don't know that most of these people have not done the genealogical research, the historical research to find out if their people were actually, if anybody belonging to their family lineage was liberated on this day, right? Or much less was ever in any bondage at all. Okay? So my thing to our people right now is, please, I beg you, you know, equip yourself with knowledge. Equip yourself with history. Don't be afraid, no matter how thick a book is, don't be afraid to take it up. Read it, right? No matter how old a book is, don't be afraid. You know, my grandfather, God rest his soul, always used to say to me that there is no knowledge that is bad. It's just how you use the knowledge that can be good or bad, right? So we need to fill ourselves with knowledge. And I'm not saying that everybody should join our organization, but if you want more information on how you can be a part of something, not a movement, a group of concerned clans, family is not a good word as well, but you know, most people know that word, right? a group of indigenous descendants who want their rights and who want rights for all indigenous descendants, link up with us, check out the West Indian Tribal Society. Right now, what we're trying to do is to build culture again in our people, and an appreciation of culture and history, so that we can be back at the point at which, when we have a headache, our first thing is not to run to the medicine cabinet and get a Panadol, but maybe to run out in the yard and to pick some leaves and to drop in your teapot and drink some tea. Right? Oftentimes the bush works faster anyway. Right? So we need to get back to living as one with nature and living as one with our ancestors and our ancestry, because a lot of people love to talk about ancestral veneration but are not checking into their ancestry and their history. So let's get back to center. Let's get back to the appreciation of who we are as distinct people. Right? And that's my closing message for the family today.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was on point, brother. That was on point. Yeah. So, and with the human rights thing, yeah. And this is what I want to also bring up, because there's something going around of certain ones out there using the Human Rights Act, yeah, for indigenous people to pull it into the pro-black paradigm under, to me, what seems to be an hostile intention. Okay.
Yes, I'm belligerent.
Yeah.
Very belligerent.
Now, I've never seen this person before. They just came out of left field. And we know that throughout history, states have had operatives infiltrate a lot of these groups and created their own groups to pull you out into a terroristic setup. Okay? Remember, they created that BIE list. So don't let anyone tell you that they're fighting for the rights of human rights and not going into the whole human rights thing, and that it doesn't apply to the corporate status of Black or African American. Okay? And also, we of the indigenous community do not associate with anyone coming into any form of hostile way or belligerent way or combative way and trying to recruit using the human rights charter to recruit indigenous people under a Black ideology to suit your suicide agenda. Okay, that is entrapment. They're putting things out there to trap you. All right, American Arawak, if you want to break down portions of a certain document, letter that we came across, if you just want to skim across it.
Okay.
And also,
all right.
Yeah.
So yes, this was we find this. This is one of the reasons we bring up this live, because we find this very disturbing. It's a letter we saw on Facebook by a prominent self-proclaimed chief. I won't say the name for because it's not.
No need. Yeah.
So all right. So I'm gonna just read and do a little bit of reading of what we are trying to say here. Okay, the letter started like this. Since 1492. We understand the genocide that was inflicted on both our Black and indigenous ancestors. Now, I'm gonna put a full stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
When they say Black and indigenous ancestors, that is very dangerous.
That's colorism.
What is Black? What is Black? What is that? What does that mean? I don't get what Black means. It's just a word by itself. Black and indigenous ancestors. So what is it? Are they indigenous or are they Black? I don't know. What is going on here?
Let me also intervene, yeah? Because what I've learned over the years, hold on, give me 1 second there, brother. Okay, what I've learned over the years, especially researching not only within the indigenous community, but into the pro-Black Pan-African community. What I've learned, the ugly truth about this indigenous community, yeah, is that you have ones out there who practice colorism. And when they say Black and indigenous, they're saying the darker you are, they're classifying you as African. Okay. And the lighter you are, they're classifying you as indigenous. That is what they are saying. Now, this is not I can't sit here and say I'm guessing, because I've run across this pattern before, many times before, on past videos that I've done when I had the big channel of certain ones and certain organizations within the indigenous community. Now, this is to show you how deep the infiltration is. When folks are out there identifying Black and indigenous, it is to entrap you. Okay. Now, people, be careful. It's either you're indigenous to the Americas or you're just not. That's it. It's plain and simple as that. If your mother is of the origins of the original inhabitants of the Americas, then you have your mother's blood in you. You are indigenous to the Americas. If your father is of the original inhabitants of the Americas, if you have your father's blood in you, you are indigenous to the Americas. It doesn't matter if you are mixed. Okay? If you are mixed and one of your parentage has ties to here, then you have ties to here. It's not about Black and indigenous, because when they say Black and
to add to that,
yeah,
and to add to that too, brother, the thing is that we as a people who have the indigenous ancestry in these islands, right? We grew up on these islands, and we grew up with the island culture, with the indigenous culture. So it is hard for us to say that we're going to identify with something that nullifies that. And the thing is that a lot of people have a inferiority complex because of this percentage thing. Oh, I'm 20% African, or I'm 50% African, or I'm 50% white, or if you have been born into an indigenous setting, okay, where you're eating cassava bread and you're drinking certain fruit juices, you're feeding on certain fruits, right? You have a certain way of dealing with your family and dealing with the dead and all of those things, right? You are indigenous, not because of any mixture. We have to reiterate that to our people. Don't get self-conscious, don't get caught up in this mixing thing and this mixture thing, okay? This is who you are. If you grew up as a European in your household, because many people here in Jamaica have a European upbringing because their original people are Europeans, right? So we have to identify as well with our culture. Right now you have a lot of people who, because they took a DNA test, right? These people who grew up in a non-indigenous setting and with a non-indigenous culture are now dressing up and wearing feathers and saying that they are indigenous because they tested themselves and saw that they have a percentage of something. So why we who grew up eating indigenous food, I'm going to eat some indigenous food later, right? I'm going to do something indigenous in another few days. I might bake an indigenous pudding or something like that, right? Or I might be planting some indigenous plants. What about us? Why don't we get to identify as indigenous? I'm not going to identify as Black. You guys aren't, and none of the people out there listening who know themselves ought to do so at all.
Exactly. When you're identifying as such, you're literally taking yourself away from. This is why the corporate states and cities have so much rulership and power over you. You're thinking that it's because of the complexion of your skin. No, it is the fact that you don't know that you are indigenous. Like, if you knew that you were indigenous, the whole 5G technology, the whole Corona scam, all these things that's going on, they wouldn't be able to enforce these things because you are outside of the construct of the foreign, the alien occupation on your land. their corporate policies don't go for indigenous people. So when they're telling folks and bullying folks to wear masks, right? When the corporate government of Jamaica, now, is it the corporate government? Let's go check, right? Let me get this screenshot. I'm going to go check to see if it's a corporate government. Let me do something real quick, because I don't want folks tampering. So let me put that this is not even visible. Okay.
Absolutely, Dartman. Absolutely.
No, we're going to check. All right. Because we showed you that the United States is a corporation, right? You know, I think it's 20 USC 3002-15 or 15A, and it will come up in corner law. It's a federal corporation. Okay? And each city and state is a subsidiary of said corporation. Now, we're going to go on. This is, as you can see, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. You want to know something's a company, something's a corporation? Now, I've been to pieces of Haiti on here, but they don't have Haiti as a corporation. They're trying. This is why they're suppressing the brothers and sisters, the indigenous people of that entire island, what you call Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Okay, Haiti. That is the name of the entire island, both sides, because it's one island. This is why they play a role in suppressing in Quisqueya. Okay, the original name of the island is Quisqueya. Okay, this is why they've been suppressing, oppressing. Okay, banning some of the ships for the Haitians to do business with other countries, other island brothers and sisters out there, to keep them seeming like they're some form of poor third world country, because Haiti is sovereign. Right now, when we say sovereign, it means Haiti is its own rulership. All right, the Haitian people rules over their self. No foreign entity, government, or corporation has any legal say so on that land. Okay, and it was very good that I believe it was Copper Hotstep that pointed out that the Puerto Ricans, that any people who speak the Spanish language classify themselves as white persons. So, you know, sign that up. It will also go for the Dominican Republic. And it also shows more to why the divide, okay, into the Dominican Republic and the Haitians, the Arawaks of Quisqueya, right? Now, yes, brother.
Yeah, as usual, you know, family obligations,
Yes,
right?
man. Yes, man.
So I'm gonna have to take a leave. But you know, if I could just before I go, just remind the family, you know, remember before your grandparents go, you know, before they transition, sit down with them, find out some more about yourself. If you're having a problem with your parents and you're finding that you're not relating to them properly, you need to look into yourself, right? And you need to really sit down with them and say, I want to have a good relationship with you. You need to mend fences in your families. In the Caribbean people find that there are a lot of broken homes and a lot of dissolved families, right? We as a people need to try to bring it together again so that we can reclaim our history before our history books, our walking, talking history books are no longer with us.
Exactly.
Right? every elder is a library, you know, a large text that we can learn from. And before those texts are no longer to be found, we need to sit with them and learn. All right. So once again, family, you know, thanks for the opportunity to, you know, give our voice. You know, I hope that we were able to bring through some good information and to get people thinking, you know, and sitting down and reading. And, you know, I thanks as usual, X, for the opportunity, you know, for me to be able to put my personal views forward and those of my family and clan.
No
And
problem.
you know, indigenous lives matter. You know, all lives matter. Right, but right now, indigenous lives need some attention. So let me say, all lives matter, but indigenous ones matter most right now. We need to bring it in. Right, so you know, give thanks to all those out there. And once again, if you guys need to know some more about the West Indian Tribal Society, how we can all get involved, you know, how we can learn some more about our island, you know, get in touch with us, right? I think you will have all of the information there. You know, everybody can get in touch with X or Arawaks or myself, you know, and please support our effort to make our pilgrimage to South America to learn from our indigenous brothers and sisters, to reclaim history, heritage, culture, spirituality, herbal healing. We have a GoFundMe up right now. You know, please share with the family the links and all of that. And everyone have a great night.
Okay. All right, brother.
All right, brother. Big up yourself.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Honor, much love and respect to everybody and all your families.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Big up yourself. Guidance in.
Yeah, man. Big up.
All right.
Okay. So here we go. This is the Security Exchange Commission website. All right. Now here you can see company, Jamaica Boilers Group, right? Jamaica Cures, right? Jamaica Cures. Then you see Jamaica Government of Sick Foreign Government. Okay? Jamaica Government. Foreign government. Do you know why that is? Because Jamaica has nothing to do with the land. It's literally a building on the island of Examaica, or Brother Alex pronounced it as Shayamaica, right? So, with that being said, the 2021 census is coming up. The corporation's job is to get you to pull out all sorts of false flag events. They're going to say police shootings and all of these, right? Which we know majority of the murders that go unsolved on Zamaka, of the indigenous people of Zamaka, right? All those murders that goes unsolved. If you can't find the murderers, that's because the murderers are in uniform working for the corporation, this corporate entity, okay? This is what's going on. Why are they doing that? Because you stopped identifying as the rightful heirs to the land and you started making their agent organizations such as the Rastafarianism tell you that you're Mama Africa and go back to Africa. What did that do to you? What did that do to the land, to any land of the Americas? When you identify as something of a corporate construct, you then label the land to be vacant. Because you labeled the land to be vacant, I'm going to give you guys this link. Because you labeled the land to be vacant, they then put in a one-page application, these foreign entities, and claim the land. They claim sections of the land, and they pay monthly for the sections of the land that they claim because it's deemed vacant. It's deemed abandoned property. Even though you're there, you identify as an African, you identified as a descendant of African slaves, you identified as all these things. And because you did that, you gave up your land. All right? You said the land is abandoned, the land is vacant, we're not here. And because Africa, the folks over there in the East, know that you are not Africans or descendants of African slaves. You don't see them pushing all sorts of diplomatic channels with their presidents, their kings, and all these channels that they can push with all these nations that's over there to come together, to come here and lay down the long arm of the law on this corporation that is controlled by the crown. This is why they say the crown owns the land, because you stop identifying with the land. So now the crown came in and filled out the application of vacancy. And when the crown filled out that application, they now, which is the queen, the supposed queen, this is why she's classified as your queen, because you started identifying as a Jamaican, which is a corporate construct of the Jamaican government, which is a corporation. So you identified as corporate property. So when you hear them saying, "Well, we had a couple of deaths this year, you know, in the corporation, and the numbers, you know, had dropped, and we had to lower the numbers and so and so, and balance out the books, balance out the debts." They're talking about people that they've killed to put that death certificate on the stock market to make money off of. Okay?
Yeah, because the black market, that's why it's dangerous to call yourself black. Because you put yourself in a position where your organs are up for grabs.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So we have these platforms. We have these big platforms that's out there. And when you introduce this information to them, they don't want to touch it. They only want to touch on who's sleeping with who's doing this, who's doing that, the gossips. They don't want to put this information out there because they're worried about their monetization. Okay? But then they want to push also the ideology from the government, the corporate government construct frame of mind on you. They're playing in your paper genocide. They're playing in your downfall. So now when you see these draconian laws being passed down, these communist laws, correction, the illusion of communism, because it is the folks who are pushing communism are wealthy people. So those are capitalists. I've never met a rich communist before in my life. In order to be filthy rich and to be wealthy, you have to be a capitalist, not a communist. Okay? But they push communism on you on the local level. All right? Because them on the other level wants rulership over you, your ins, your outs, your comings, your outgoings, how you breathe, how you eat, sleep, take a poop, right? How close you stand to each other, 6 feet apart, 6 feet, right? But that's for their corporate property. This is what these governments look at you as property, all right? And because they know that the melanated man and woman is the most emotional, they showcase you being gunned down in the street more than any other ethnic group because they thrive off of your energy because they know you. It's a taunt. They're mocking you. Like when Joe Biden said, "And you're not black," and he did that little sinister grin at the end of it. It's a mock. When they show you those clips, they're mocking you because all you have to do is start identifying as indigenous, and you see how quick this whole thing changed. When you start identifying as indigenous and your rightful indigenous identity, you'll see that all these groups that's been in the community for 100 years on the island, on the mainland, have been misleading you, and that they have played in the genocide of millions of you. So when y'all talking about Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, indigenous lives matter. When you're talking about Black Lives Matter, look at the ones who've purposely miseducated you over the years to educate you into committing paper genocide. Look at the ones who got you to give up your nationality to proclaim a citizen from someone else's land overseas. Look at those people. They've killed more people than the police have. So wake up. See this? Jamaica is a corporation. It has nothing to do with the land. Your prime ministers has nothing to do with you, the living, breathing person. Your prime ministers laugh at you. Your governor general laugh at you when they go and they sip their tea and they go on their golf course and all of that. Okay? They laugh at you because they know what's going on. Hence the fake corruption. Go ahead, brother.
And they're also shareholders within the corporate construct. So they have large. So their reward is to get shares, good shares within the corporate construct. That's how they get compensated. So when they in the position to govern the corporation or be the president of a corporation, they are compensated by getting shares. Okay, So it's a conflict of interest. Like when you go in these courts and everybody in that courtroom has a bar card, that's a conflict of interest. Okay? And it's very dangerous to even be on the census as well. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. The very meaning of census. I have the meaning of the etymology of census right here.
Go ahead.
And within the definition of census, you get all the answers. So it's a noun, 1610, from 1610, in reference to registration and taxation in Roman history. From Latin, census, the enrollment of the names and property assessments of all Roman citizens. Original past participle of censere, to assess. See censor, the modern use of census as official enumeration of the inhabitants of a country or state, with details begins in US in 1790 and revolutionary France in 1791. Property for taxation, okay, was the primary purpose in Rome. So when you are putting yourself on the census, you're putting yourself as property for taxation. You're now sacrificing your sweat equity to be taxed by a corporation. Okay? You're putting yourself out there as collateral to back a corporation that is a capitalist system. Okay? That sees nothing when it comes, that see nothing about life or living. It's all about for profit, for gain. Okay? Exactly. So you're playing into your own demise. Okay? You are your own downfall by participating in a census. Even the Constitution, the very Constitution, forget the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, which was before the Constitution, said that Indians are not a part of the state, these colonial states. Okay? So if it's telling you in the Articles of Confederation that we are not supposed to even be a part of these colonial states, right? Then what does that tell you? Exactly. That makes you are outside. By default, you're outside of that construct. So why fight for civil rights to be a part of a construct that was never made for you in the first place?
That's true.
And this is why they create the civil rights, because people was forcing to assimilate. They want to assimilate in a system. When to begin with, you had the opportunity to create your own. Okay? So hence civil rights.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
They text me before they left. Right. But so yeah, folks, this has been all one trap. It's been a big trap, and they sucked you into it. And some of you who are probably new watching this, now you're learning why our platforms are targeted. Okay, and some of you who are new, who are watching this now, let me just say, I apologize to you for what is about to sink in when you really go back and you replay this and really go start doing the digging to see how much damage that certain ones in certain communities that you trust have done to you. How much they have played a part in taking away from you, from your family, from your ancestors, from the ones, even the brothers and sisters that marched during the civil rights movement. And before that, how much for over 100 years that you were being wrongfully, purposely misled, right? Because what they learned was our people, right? They learned that our people are trustworthy people. And because they learned that our people are trustworthy people, right? And this is why now we started going against each other in some cases. And we started, I can trust that person. Because some of our grandparents realized the damage that had been done.
That right?
So, yeah.
Don't mute my mic. I realize when I mute my mic, you start chopping up. Don't mute it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so our people, because I keep hearing the echo back. But all right. But yeah, so like this has been a great injustice that has been done. Now, when you're so focused on the black versus white thing, the ones that was teaching you fallacies were not Caucasian folks in those mosques, in those temples, in those closed door meetings. Okay, those are Negro faces standing in front of you, teaching you these fallacies. All right, and you soaked it up. You went on, you taught your children the same fallacies. You taught this black pride into your child, this black power into your child. And what they were really doing was stripping you of your natural identity, unknown to you. So now when folks like I, or American Arawaks, Lakono, Kapatstep, Brother Alex, we come along and start giving you the real spill, it's hard for you to swallow it. It's hard for you to take it. You don't want to believe it. You look at us as the ones who are the agents. But when you start doing your research, because this is a drug, this information thing is a drug. As much as you say, God damn it, I hate them. Homes, damn sellouts, what they talk about, there's a part of it that's going to be itching in you like a crack addict. You're going to have to try it. You're going to have to research and look it up, and then God damn it, when that shit hits, it's going to hit you hard. And you're going to realize that those folks in that pro-black community, you're going to realize that some of these folks in this indigenous community that identify you still with black, and the way how they say the black and that they're separatists, and that they're colorist, and that they will also pull in the dark of you female, right, to make it seem as if they are not so. It's like a Caucasian that will marry and give and create children with a dark of you female. Okay? Be careful of whom you follow. Be careful of whom you listen to. You must fact check everyone, including me. You must research. Don't take anything that we say just at the whim without researching, okay? And we've got so lackadaisical that we stopped researching. We stopped investigating things on our own that we really need to sit down and let someone tell us what to do. This is why these politicians can get away with the genocide that they've committed with this fake COVID stuff. Okay, this is why these politicians can get away with launching 65G new satellites up in the sky, all of which has cameras that can use telephoto lens to spot an ant on the goddamn floor. Okay, this is why they need to put up all these 5G towers. All right, this is why Amazon can get away with not allowing you to use your credit card when you feel to use it. But if you take your credit card off of their list, they're telling you now that you have to put your bank information in, your routing number and your banking number before you could even buy anything off of Amazon. Do you hear me, people? Do you hear
Check
me?
this out. Check this out.
Go ahead,
if you open an account with Amazon or any one of these business entities, it's best you approach it from open a business account with them. I'm saying, because I have a business account with Amazon, right? So that way you won't be judged as a black or a white person, as you just be seen as just a business entity. So it's just from a business to business kind of thing, transaction going on.
No, you see what I'm saying is this. Amazon is a part of the tracking system that they're now implementing, the 6 feet apart thing. Amazon and Facebook, they've all invested into those. While everyone was distracted with the COVID and the George Floyd incident, they were launching their number one plan up above. Now, 5G emits a type of radiation that it slowly cooks you from the outside. Now, because it slowly cooks you from the outside, right? Us as dark melanated people, darker view, browner view people, we still have a high tolerance against those radio waves that is irregular to our natural frequency, radio frequency to the earth. So what do they have to do? They have to inject you with the radiated fluids in your bloodstream. Hence, this is why they keep talking about the African American community is the hardest hit. The Black community is the hardest hit. The northern parts of Jersey is the hardest hit because it's more indigenous people there. Okay? And they're trying to get you before a lot of you can wake up to the fact that you're indigenous. Because when you wake up to the fact that you're indigenous, none of their policies go. That governor, that mayor, that councilman, that police chief could talk till they turn blue. They can't do you shit. And if they do anything to you, you have all rights to do what you got to do because you're indigenous to this land. Those are foreign entities, foreigners onto you, enforcing draconian foreign law policies onto you. Now, when I had read that statement that I read before about the freed slaves, when I had said something before in previous lives when I said, hey, the National Guard was originally there for you to protect you if you were under your rightful status and nationality. Now, I told y'all that when the federal government gets involved, it's to keep the state in check so that the state don't run with draconian policies over its citizens. All right? And the federal government gets involved to use the military to protect the nationals, the indigenous ones who are rightfully identifying as who they are. But when you are a citizen, that military will not intervene between you and the policy officers because you are corporate property of the state, hence being state property. But if you are indigenous, that military is supposed to intervene when the state even tries to put a finger on you. That's why the National Guards were really there, and that's why they put the Antifa agents and the Black Lives Matter agents went out there to start looting to take away from that, to keep them busy with that, with the burning of buildings and so on and so on, because they were really there to defend the indigenous ones who were marching in that crowd. That's what they were really there for. But because you don't understand this, and your president, certain politicians ain't going to come right out and say to you because it's still one of the biggest secrets. Okay, if they come out and say to you that's it, that's the downfall for this entire structured system. You have the answers, the remedy in your hands, and all because of folks out there with ego that is thirsty to be some form of king over other people, want to be the top man in the movement, right? That they easily mislead you. They easily manipulate you to fit their twisted agenda while setting you up to be lambs to the slaughter to paper genocide. If you want to say your closing, and then we just,
Yes. For my let me see my closing statements. All right. So you guys, I don't know if you guys are aware or I've ever heard of the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the background of everything that you've seen happening now because they have a seat at Congress. Okay. And I will read their motto. Okay. Their motto says, Black people have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. No. What does that mean? What does permanent interest mean? Does that mean you have an interest in profit or gain? What does that mean? And we all know black means to hide, and caucus is a Algonquin or Algonquin word. Caucus is actually an American Indian word. So we all know black means to hide because black is a color. So they are hiding as a hide, so they're behind. So it's like they're behind the scenes kind of caucus. So let me pull up caucus and tell you what caucus means.
Okay.
It's a American Indian word.
They're the puppet masters.
And I'm
Puppet masters.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna pull up the word caucus and break it down. Caucus, right, means. So what I have here, it means it's a noun. Private meeting of parties or black voters or local voters. My bad. American English, New England. Perhaps an Algonquin word. Caucasu, counselor, elder, advisor. Right. Caucus Club of Boston. Possibly derived from modern Greek caucus, drinking cup. Right. Another old guess. Caucus meeting. So it's a meeting of who? People hiding behind the word black. Who's hiding behind black? Because they're hiding something. It's a secret meeting. Okay? So they cloak it as so the Congressional Black Caucus, or CBC, is a caucus made up of most African American members of the United States Congress. Representative Karen Bass, or Bass, from California, has chaired the caucus since 2019. Right, the history. The predecessor to the caucus was founded in January 1969 as a Democratic Select Committee by a group of African American members of the House of Representatives, including Shirley Chisholm of New York, Louis Stokes of Ohio, William L. Clay of Missouri. African American representatives had begun to enter the House in increasing numbers during 1960. I wonder why they start to. What was going on in 1960, Brother Dartman? I wonder why.
They used the whole civil rights movement as a means of this push.
There you go.
Protesting.
There you go.
All right.
Right.
Protesting has always been a political weapon against the people, while the politicians are passing and doing. That's when the real movements is happening. When you're out there by the thousands. No more what is it? No justice, no peace.
No peace.
No
Yeah.
riches, no lease.
Yeah. And they had
guys. I'm just laughing at the situation, you know.
And listen, and they had a desire for a formal organization. Further congressional redistricting in the wake of the civil rights movement resulted in the number of black Congress members from 9 to 13. The first chairman, Charles Diggs, served from 1969 to 1971. All members of the caucus landed on the master's list of Nixon political opponents. Okay, so we already know what the civil rights movement is about. We already know there's nothing I've seen that civil rights movement that say black people. I have never seen it. I never seen African American either. I never seen it. It's not there. So what is the Black Caucus really about? Because they say they're in it for the interest. So that means they're a capitalist. They capitalize on the civil rights movement.
Now, here's also another important thing to point out. The Democratic Party is the eugenics party. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not saying that the other side is perfect, but I'm saying for the most part, the Democratic Party is what started eugenics. The Democratic Party is what pushes eugenics. So, with that being said, when people are saying it's only Caucasian folks that are for eugenics, that's not true, because those Democrats are also for eugenics. This is why they could simply have came out and said, "Hey, people who identify as African American and black, guess what? This is the truth." But none of those melanated men and women in the Senate and Congress comes out and tell you these things, okay? Because it's a big secret. Because the minute they come out and say that, they can no longer use the corporation's might to fatten their pockets off of your labor. Imagine you work sometimes 18 hours a day, sometimes 6-7 days a week, 2-3 weeks straight, no days off on something, depending on the job that you do. No days off. And to have a man or a woman that didn't work with you, that wasn't at your job, that did not clock in with you, come and tell you, hey, you got to pay us this amount of taxes. If you don't pay, we're gonna lock you up. That's what they do to corporate constructs. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So this is why we here, instead of just talking and being on these platforms, we decided to step up our game and put our efforts as one effort to develop a platform where we could be heard, you know what I'm saying, are protected from colonial draconian policies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is why we are implementing what we are implementing, and we are asking the people who know themselves, who know who they are, because you got to know who you are first. It's not something we don't play that. It's not a club, okay? It's not a club membership. No, it's about your culture, what culture you're from, who you are, who are you, who's your grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Because even with the whole Jamaica situation, I have my grandmother's records, at least to my fourth great grandmother. And when I look at those records, I don't see them being listed as Jamaican on there. So what were they before before independence? You know what I'm saying? You gotta always ask these questions. What were they before independence? What were they calling themselves? Were they calling themselves Jamaicans?
Nope.
You know, prior to 1962. Same for North America. What were your parents calling themselves prior to 1789 or 1781? What were they called? Because as far as I can see, there was no place for, all I see is Indians and attacks. And that meant something. That meant a lot. Yep. Okay? To be a distinct group of people, right? And then of course, when they start to do the switcheroo, everything got flipped upside down on its head, and all of a sudden you're Negro.
As much as, look, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not a fan of this person, but Hemok Sheila put out a Facebook video the other day that someone shared with me, and he said some of the realest stuff in there. And at the end of that video, he said, and he called certain names and said that they're sitting down with the feds, Social Security, and the people from the census, and he lets you know. He said the same thing. Hemok said Indians not taxed. Okay? And he said many things out of that. Cherokee Toulouse laughing. You already know where I'm going with this. And he said the name, a key name, and the ones, look, we know his main agenda, but separate from that, when the man came out and said these people stole his documentations and paperwork, and he called names, he was not lying. They stole his documentations and paperwork and branched off and started offshoots organizations on their own. Are they still a part of NAAIPI? Yes, they are. But he put it out there that they are. Even though they branched off and they're clowning on him out in the public, they're still a part of that trust, because when that trust pulls in something, they get something from it. So you see the games that they play with you, but at the same time, they're trying to bury that man and sitting down with the feds while trying to convince you to play a part in the census and the corporation's political affairs. I was just about to say that. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wake up, people.
You gotta smell the coffee. It's real out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And when I and X really sit back and look at evaluate the situation, I'm like, you know what? Instead of always being here trying to, clarify what not to do or what to do in regards to the knowledge, why not just apply it? Why not just come together and apply it? And then whosoever have like mind and want to be a part or participate in the freedom of our people, true freedom, real freedom, yes. Why not just get it done? Why not just exercise it? You know what I'm saying? Because people are playing with you. They really are playing with you. They are. They are playing with your mind. They're playing with you. There's a lot of debate going on this platform stuff. People going from back and forth, trying to cloud chasing, whatever, instead of just telling the people like the real, like, come on, you're just not supposed to. The government was not even created for you in the first place because you already govern yourself.
Exactly.
That's what they should be telling you, but they're not telling you that.
That's a fact.
You know? So, just get to the point, man. Stop beating around the bush. Stop calling names. Stop cloud chasing. People, we are at war. We've been at war. Okay? This is not a joke until somebody in your family actually dies and you say, oh shit. That's when it's going to hit you. Like, wow. You thought you was untouchable until somebody actually died. Somebody real close to you die. Then you're going to say, okay, well, this is real. But why has to take for somebody to die in your family for you to realize like you're being played?
Exactly.
It's simple. Go read the Constitution. Go read it. Go look at it. Even the Dred Scott case. Check this out. The Dred Scott case said people of African descent cannot be the citizens, right? And when you do the cross reference between the Dred Scott case and Indians not taxed, you're gonna see a whole lot of similarities in it.
Exactly.
You're gonna see a whole lot, excluding the African part. But if you read what Indian tax really means, it said we were not considered as United States citizen. And then when you read the Dred Scott case said people of African descent cannot be citizens. So what does that tell you? Can you cross-reference that? Is it so hard for you to see that? Can you read between the lines? Who they label as Africans? Who they label as black? Who they label as Negro? Who's fighting for civil rights? Who Martin Luther marched for? Just look into what I'm saying, man. And then you go back and you backtrack and you say, wait a minute, hold up. Then if we were really Africans and we're not supposed to be citizens as Africans or whatever, why did King go ahead and march for Indians?
Exactly.
And then he's marching to get civil rights, meaning he wanted to integrate, he wanted to assimilate. He was marching in the idea that all of us are one people. We should just eat in their restaurants too, because he wanted the people to have the privilege of sitting in a colonial restaurant or going on a colonial bus system. When in the first place, you should be regulating commerce with this government. You should not be integrated. You should be regulating commerce, not integrating with their government. You should be separate and distinct from their government because that's the law. But no, I guess.
Let me point out something, right? So,
Yeah.
folks is celebrating Juneteenth, right? Now, this is one of my cousin's posts, right? He has the green, black, and red. Now, I guarantee he don't know what those colors mean. I guarantee a lot of folks who rock that color don't know what it means. They think it's some African stuff, and it's not. All right, it's the color of one of our most famous deities. But anyway, in his post is on June 19th, 1865, Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War was over and that all remaining slaves were free. Now, that thing that I read to y'all earlier, let me pull it back up. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna pull it back up. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it in my in the comment section of the not the comment section. I'm gonna post it on the post section of the YouTube. Right? Let me pull it back up. Now, this is 1863, freedom to slaves, right? Now, everyone is celebrating this Juneteenth as freedom for black slaves, African slaves, right? But this article, I'm going to read it back again, mentions nothing about black or Africans. And the reason being, because when you go and you dig into the research, okay, the tribes that they slaughtered it was called Mexican Texas, It was called Mexico, Texas. That's what it was called before. It's only just called Texas now. Were people of Arawakan descent in those areas, and people who were mixed with Arawakan blood. This is why they don't identify them as Black or African American. Okay, so that Texas area, that were the 7 to 9 nomadic tribes that always inhabited that area. And these men, these colonial forces, along with some supposed Indians, teamed up and slaughtered these people for that land. And the ones that they couldn't kill off, they imprisoned, enslaved. And that is Juneteenth. It was the freeing of those people by the federal government. Okay? So understand what's happening here. And that's something that we're going to touch on very near in the future, because I'm going to bring all these facts to y'all. All right? I'm going to bring it. Okay? It's a lot of stuff that we've been looking into. All right? So pay attention.
Yeah. Then the southern part of Florida as well, with the Timucua Arawak people or Arawak people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were, what you got to realize, okay? You have different forms, you have different stages of slavery. You have slavery where Indians were enslaving Indians.
Yeah.
Okay? Indians wanted
to not to cut you, brother. One more thing.
Yeah.
And again, another reason why they were slaughtering those people, because they didn't do like some of the other tribes and succumb to Catholicism. So they were slaughtering them because they didn't sell out like some of the other tribes, or they weren't submitted. So they didn't submit to Catholicism. They wouldn't take on that religion because it's not theirs. Okay, it wasn't ours. These religions, these things that we call now today in the form of how we're practicing it, though, that was not ours. All right, they stuck to the original format. All right, so that's another reason why they went and they slaughtered these people. Okay, and some of them went to San Pedro Island. All right, that's where some of them ran off to San Pedro Island and throughout other portions of the West Indies, and the rest went deeper down into Texas, and they followed those rest down into Texas. They slaughtered who they could slaughter, and they imprisoned the rest. Now, throughout history, the excuse that they used, they labeled them as cannibals, but they weren't cannibals. It was a lie. And the people that wrote their history, those Indians' history, were their enemies. Their enemies wrote their history. So the enemies made up a whole bunch of lies to use it as an excuse to do what they've done. Like today, in today's culture, they label you as Black and African American, and they have to make you seem like you're violent, you're belligerent, you're combative all the time. Now, again, Chicago, for example, thousands and thousands of people a year die in Chicago, but they can never find these murderers. Come on, put 2 and 2 together. But because they know you're ignorant, and all they need is someone popular in the neighborhood to say, yep, it was so-and-so, and this gang did it. But they can never find the shooter in that gang. That shooter never exists, right? It's always an unmarked car, right? Drive by, boom, boom, boom. But no one films these shootings in the age of technology, of cameras, cell phones. Come on, pay attention, okay? So with the title of Black and African American comes that stigma of being gang members, gangbangers, violent, murderers, killing hundreds of thousands of your people every year, but they can never find the murderers because the corporate construct is pushing that so that the world will be desensitized to you. And that's what they had to do back then. They had to label those people as cannibals so that people would not care when they were being slaughtered, even though there was no evidence, just like there's no evidence as to that there are certain ones in Chicago killing each other. Okay? In Jamaica, killing each other. All right? There's how many thousands of murders happen on that that island. And they can never find the murderers. And I'm just saying it. It is your government that's doing it and getting away with it, because the government owns the morgues. The government owns the hospital. Well, they've invested in the morgues. They've invested in the hospitals. Okay, they've invested in the policy officers who you're wrongfully calling police officers. They've invested into these things. So the biggest trade in the corporate world, and here goes the truth and the ugly fact, is organ harvesting. Okay? Organ harvesting of the dark and brown of you, man and woman. Pay attention. All right, go ahead, brother.
Hence the black market.
Yes,
Hence the black market.
Yes.
They do the transactions on the black market, because when you call yourself black, you put yourself on a blacklist. Okay, I already shared that on my platform. That's what you're really doing. That's what you're really saying when you're communicating that language. Okay. Furthermore, when I see Black Lives Matter, I realize it's in all capitals, right? Everything is written in all capitals. That's another form of genocide.
Yep.
Right. And you put black in all capitals, that's genocide within itself. Within the name black is genocide, but when you're gonna capitalize it, that's even I don't know what to say. That's double genocide. Genocide.
Right there. And it's a corporation. It's a business funded by George Soros and the Ford Foundation. Anyway.
Yep. Ford Foundation and Kaiser and GMC, they're the ones who funds eugenics programs along with the Pioneer Fund. So they are the ones who behind the Pioneer Fund. They donate millions, trillions of dollars to this fund to suppress you, to find ways how to detour you from who you are. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta work. You gotta really learn who you are first before you can learn anything else. You know what I'm saying? The foundation is you. So get you right, then you build on you. But without you knowing who you are, you can't really. It's senseless talking about even a business. It's senseless talking about unity, because if you don't know who you are, who you gonna unite with? Who? A bunch of the blind gonna lead the blind? Really? You know what I'm saying? How can the blind lead the blind?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you guys gotta really wake up. And I was seeing Dead to Self said that was a big factor. The monarchy sent the missionaries to convert the savages. Yes, they did. And that's the Jesuits, right? Like Bernardino de Sahagun is one, it's the first one, is one of the first anthropologists. He was a Franciscan friar. And that man talks about the friars a lot. The Dominican friars, who were the ones who, I guess, is a part of this whole eugenics movement, the foundation of it, probably. You know what I'm saying? And they were all Jesuits. So, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The friars were the ones who are mainly responsible for the splitting of the island of Kiscaya that we now call Haiti, right? To why the Haitians are on one side and you have the colonizers on the other side, which they now call Dominicans today. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was their yeah.
And one of the terms they use for paper genocide is in evangelization. They evangelize you, they anglicize you, they you know what I mean, they convert you.
Mm-hmm.
So they say they convert you from, convert means to take from one form to another, right?
Yeah.
So they convert you from who you really are to who you're really not.
Yes.
And within doing that, they destroy the very fabric and the very foundation of who, even your political system. Because I don't want to say we had political system. It's more of a village-based system. It's more of the village raised the child system.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like a political system like you see now. It was more of, okay, the more responsible one, the one who's elected as the most responsible, will protect the village, or be the diplomat for the village, or the one who communicates with the other tribes. They select that particular chief to do a particular task, not because he's over them, it's just because of his character.
Yeah.
And it was very you know, it was very a spiritual thing. They didn't just vote somebody or select some, because it was more like the clan mothers who select that particular chief, the woman. Okay, the clan mothers in that position.
Yep.
Okay, because they see you're responsible enough. It's not because you're higher than nobody, because you're really not. You just have a responsibility because you seem to have the character. It's within you. They select you because of your character.
Exactly.
And it's only to communicate diplomatically with other tribes, and to it's just to have different multiple relationships in regards to trading, because the trading was our most important commodity. And this is why this colonial government came here. They were after our trade more so than anything else.
Which were the ports and the
Yep.
bays, which they have docked and taken over, right?
Yep.
This is why China still is buying up so many ports now today. Now,
Yep.
they by law, they're not supposed to move the indigenous man and woman of the Americas away from the waterfronts, all right, or any piece of land, even in their own documents. This is why they go so as hard as to reclassify you as descendants of African slaves, to reclassify you as black, colored, Negro, African American. This is why they go as far as to reclassify you as these things, because even in their own documents, it tells them that they cannot they cannot dislocate you, meaning that they can't come and see you somewhere and then up and try to use urban renewal to push you out of your community. They cannot do that. But because you identify with black, African American, and all these other titles that has nothing to do with your ancestry, your nationality, okay? They can do that because you contracted with them unknowingly to do so, just by not identifying back with whom you are. Now, who are you to blame for that? Because we can always say, but the Caucasian in the public school system, but then while we're doing this research, we're seeing that it was a lot of melanated people was teaching in these public school systems back in the day. We're doing the research and we're realizing, again, Nation of Islam, Moorish Science Temple, the Pan-African Movement, Garvey's UNIA, okay, Rastafarianism, all taught you to go against yourself and put you in a predicament.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And then, as I was telling X, it's so funny because I heard a dude say, it's funny because he said it, but it hit me. He said, "We are not from England, but we are speaking English." You know what I'm saying? So think about it. The English identify with their language. So if you're a Frenchman, you speak French. If you're Englishman, you speak English. So why is it that we're not English people?
Yep.
Right. So why we are speaking English as far as trying to be relevant by trying to speak this language? That's why I always say keep it simple as you can, because it's your limited understanding of what English is, because you're not English. It's just your limited understanding of what English is in your own words. You're trying to convey what you really mean. You know what I'm saying?
This is why the Hawaiians go to court now. They only speak in Hawaiian, because once they speak in their native tongue, the courts have no jurisdiction over them anymore.
Yep. And when you go in these courts, you really need a translator. But then again, you're not even English. Your nationality is not English. So even if they're translating from the legalese to English, you still could deny that you don't speak English, because you're not an English national. Your bloodline doesn't tie back to the English monarch.
Exactly.
So why are you even trying to fit in? You know what I'm saying? Same thing for the Mexicans. They speak Spanish, but are they Spanish? Are they from Spain?
Nope, they're free white persons.
Okay. So if you look at it, if you speak Spanish or English, are you really Spanish? What that's why your bloodline is important. Who's your grandmother? Did she speak Spanish?
Exactly.
Did you before colonization? Did you speak English? Did you speak Spanish? I'm saying so. We just have limited understanding of these languages because, of course, okay, we are colonized, so we gotta actually have a limited understanding of the simplest form of words to communicate with, so we could do commerce or trade with. But that doesn't mean you're gonna tie yourself or lock yourself deeper into it by trying to be the scholar. You're trying to be a scholar in a language that doesn't belong to you. So that's all I'm saying. It's that simple. It's common sense.
Kev Don, yes, they did call them Atakapata, right? And also I think it's Kanakawa also as well, right? There's many names that they called them, but it tells you that they are of tribal descendants from Carib Indians, who they also identify as West Indians also as well, right? So this is where the Arawak link also will come in with those folks, that tribe that they slaughtered out in Texas and then enslaved, imprisoned, right? Because slavery was a form of imprisonment, also prisoners of war. And that's when the proclamation came down for them to release, for them to have been released. And that's your Juneteenth story. That's nothing to do with no African slaves. That's nothing to do with none of that shit. Okay? A lot of truth, a lot of information is going to start coming out. And these folks, even your Dr. Claude Anderson, they like to push that Juneteenth stuff and talk about the black man and the African, well, and the African and the Pan-African and African-American and African-American this and African-American that. Look, man, you're going to have to start shaking these people up and telling them to cut the bull doodle. Okay? All of that is paper genocide, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
And what they're not telling you is that the original Europeans were so-called dark-skinned people, like a King George. Yeah. So what happened in 1871, the Caucasians took over and created a incorporated version of the United States. Okay? So the Act of 1871 was that complete takeover from the republic that the original European nobles, 13 colonies, right? The original 13 colonies was created by the European nobles that look dark-skinned, what you call so-called black, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the 13 colonies from King James. Virginia Company was King James Company, okay? Yeah. He had the vagabonds coming over here to work in these colonies. The vagabonds from over there, okay?
Now, the vagabonds is from when they passed the vagabond laws for people who hang out on the street corners, people who didn't have anything to do. See, these are the laws that they're sneakily trying to also bring back on you guys, which is why your governors, your states shut down all the businesses for this fake COVID, okay? Because it's fake. That's why your governors shut down all the businesses, because it's to put you back into the vagabond construct of their corporate policies. All right. So pay attention to what's going on. Okay.
And what you gotta realize, in like the mid 1800s, like earlier part of 1800s, they had a transatlantic slave trade for the Japanese people, for the Chinese. So when you say transatlantic, what are you really talking about? What are you really saying?
Now that we know these things,
what are you really saying?
Yeah.
Are you a Chinese? Because they had a transatlantic thing going on there too. A lot of Chinese came over as slaves, man. Like a lot. Like Filipinos.
Thousands of them.
They came over as slaves. Even in California, the gold rush. Trust me, man. It was, and what a lot of them did, they came to the South and they married with the indigenous people. They married in. So a lot of these Melanesian looking people you see that call themselves Native Americans, they're descendants of those Chinese mixed with original women of the Americas. Yeah. So this is claim Native American. A lot of them are what you call Melanesians. They're triracial, and yes, they have the right to claim the land as far as connection. Because if you're one of your ancestors, your mom, great grandmother was an American Indian, then yes, you are, regardless.
But this is where a lot of the corruption comes in. Also, I'm not saying that they don't have the right to claim it. They have all right to claim it. But you have a lot of, well, there's some of them who are unrighteous and they know that their colonizing counterpart means you no good. And they go into these political seats and push you and kick you down into the dirt and pull their colonizing counterpart on the top of the list of everything. And they combine together to start oppressing you.
Yeah.
Right?
Put their foot on your neck.
Yeah.
So you got to know what you're saying out here. You can't just say things without knowing what you're really saying. What are you saying? When you say transatlantic slave trade, what are you saying? You got to be specific. You got to be specific. And remember, Spain didn't have a colony in Africa, really. The British didn't have a colony till 1865, I think. So when you say transatlantic slave trade, what is going on? Because if they weren't there, if they didn't have colonies there till a certain point in time, then where were these slaves coming from?
Exactly.
And if we were on a so-called British occupation, then and it's supposed to be an Africa slave trade, then wouldn't they have a colony in Africa to conduct that business? And how is it they could have such a slave trade during the Barbary Wars? You gotta question these things. How was it possible when there was pirating ships, hijacking, the Moors were hijacking the British ships, taking it over and enslaving the captain?
Exactly.
So what are you really saying? What are you saying? What who are you? First of all, who are you? Know who you are. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna find who you are in a textbook. You know what I'm saying? So get the facts, man. Get the truth. Because we only deal with the truth, the facts, the truth, the substance. We don't do the theories. We don't do Darwin theory. We don't do that. We don't do that around here. We don't do the DNA testing kits. We don't spit in tubes and connect ourselves to a tribe in Africa. We don't do that stuff. Okay? Exactly. You want to connect with a tribe in Africa, but they don't want to connect with you. What kind of madness is that? So cool. You got to wake up, man. Your time is now. Time is right now. Now is the time. You know. So that's my closing statements for now. I know we'll be building on more lives, so chop it up. But by then we should have West Indian Tribal Society in full effect.
Yep, the website is coming. The website is coming.
Yeah.
We'll be here soon. All right. So we have we're building as we go along, but we pretty much have it mapped out, right? So amen, but more inside, more coming out. Afro Central System or European Central System is Central America. Huh? I don't. What are you talking about, brother? Warren L. Said a man, but more inside, more coming out. Afro Central System or Euro Central System in Central America. Was there something I missed?
He seemed like he's of the Moorish kin.
Yeah, but we don't. We wait till someone give their full information of what it is that they're speaking on before we even No. The reason why I say I don't know if he has a fez on in the picture. Yeah. He's a Moorish thing, but we'll wait till let's see if he's gonna put the rest of his information.
Right. Yeah. So if he's a Moor, then he's from Morocco. So he should know about the Barbary Wars. Is it from Morocco?
He should know about it. All Moors should know about the Barbary Wars.
Yeah. Then
very, very astute to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was a fly on my shoulder. It was my hair. I hit the shit out of myself. But anyway,
yeah.
All right. He's not putting anything else. All right, so folks, we're about to get up out of here, right?
Yep.
We will have more coming in the future. Like I said, we're working on the website now. And when everything is up and running, you guys will be notified. And yeah, so it's not something that we're trying to rush, right? Because we have to be very accurate in what it is that we're doing. Okay. So yeah, and again, it's just nothing but love and appreciation for all you guys. Just nothing but love and appreciation, and for all of y'all. It doesn't matter your creed, your religion, none of that stuff. It doesn't matter, when it comes to us on a human level. But just respect us when we are speaking about our nationality, right? Our history, and when we're bringing forth the facts, and we just have all respect all across the board for each other. And again, just be careful for the many traps that's out there, all right? Because they're out there, and it's up to you if you want to fall for it or stay in one, okay? It's free will. It's free will, all right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Free will. That's the power you have. Free will all the way.
The last D Live wasn't an upload from YouTube. I'm able to, because I'm able to now stream from both platforms at the same time. So when I go live on YouTube, depending on what kind of live I'm doing, I'll go live also at the same time on D Live, right? So if they're messing with the YouTube, you should be able to tune in on the D Live just in case. Okay. But yeah. So yeah, folks. So we're gonna get up out of here. Brother American Arawak, I thank you for being on the panel. Thank you for the information that you shared. To the chat, I thank you guys for being here. To Brother Copper Hot Step, Lacona Empire, Brother Alex. I thank those brothers for also being on the chat, on the panel also as well.
Big up the Empress them too, of course.
Okay. Wait, it wasn't letting you replay it? I don't. Maybe I got to finish this first. Oh, I have to finish the live here first on this, and then you'll be able to replay it on the D Live. But the YouTube, you should be able to watch it now on the YouTube. Just back the slide up, and it should take you to the beginning. Unless YouTube is blocking my stuff. So like on certain topics when we've been touching on even the West Indian Tribal Society, they've been kicking people out the chat, and they've been hiding the fact that I've even went live. They've been hiding the shows. So when the show is supposed to be uploaded and pop up on the latest watch list immediately, 2-3 days later, it's still not on there. So they're hiding it. Then they stopped sending out notifications that I actually did a video. You see what I'm saying? So it's total discrimination of what they're doing. So the folks that runs YouTube is a part of the corporate creed that, like I said, this information is powerful. Once people realize who they really and truly are, these corporations like YouTube and them, they're going to have to change their ways. It's a must. They're going to have to, because there's a difference from targeting corporate construct people and indigenous people, because YouTube don't own the building that they operate out of. But YouTube is a corporation. A corporation is a fiction. A fiction cannot own property. And the reason why they made it so, because this is not their land. This is your inheritance. So they cannot own anything on your inheritance. That goes for all those so-called Jews that people keep talking about. Whoa, but the Jews, they own everything. No, they don't. They just filled out the abandoned property documentations, and they pay their corporate government monthly to lease that piece of land. They don't own nothing.
Like the $5 Indians. That's what the $5 Indians did.
Exactly, and Hemok Shilep even blew them up too. That the $5 Indians, that those so-called Indians on those reservations are corporate constructs of the United States Incorporated, and they're foreigners on your land. God damn it! After he done told the head culprit who was dealing with the FBI, I couldn't stop laughing. And he said all the affiliates of that person. So you know what that means. Some of y'all that's in this community that got y'all platforms and stuff, that talk about y'all was former this or Enoch Sheila up on former that. Y'all stole the man's documentation, stole the branches of your stuff. Some of y'all got caught selling links to documentations of the man's stuff. That's why the documentations were saying NWIPI, because y'all stole his stuff. And now the man is out and he's talking because he got tired of y'all bashing him. Kudos to you, Hemok. Kudos to you. and I messed with what he said, and he also gave his Morris title. He said, "Those of you who knew me as," and he denounced it. He denounced his Morris title. If you go back to that Facebook video, he actually denounced that shit. Right? So that's another thing. So kudos to you, Hemok. I'm still not a fan of the man because I know what his big thing is. I know what his agenda is. So I'm not a fan of him. But the fact that he put y'all on blast so well, so tastefully.
Big up, Alex.
One name and then said everybody that's affiliated with that name. Damn.
And there's no former members. That's what he said. There's no former
members. That means all of those who have been running around, I'm Aboriginal, and some of y'all with y'all platforms and so on and so, y'all still members of NWAIPI, acting like you're not. Still getting from that trust that Hemok created. Still getting your pockets fattened and still out here acting like you're not getting nothing on scamming the people for your stuff. That's crazy.
Cutthroat.
Hell yeah. Crazy. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We're going to get up out of here. All right. So, don't forget, man, we here have created the West Indian, Brother Alex and Brother American Arawaks, and the brothers invited me, okay, and on it. So this was originally their creation, their baby, all right, the West Indian Tribal Society, all right, Sister Malkia, and I thank them for allowing me to be a part of this, because this is something to unite the righteous Indians of the West, okay? The brothers in the West Indies, the brothers in the Western Hemisphere, the brothers and sisters in the Western Hemisphere, brothers and sisters in the West Indies, North, South, Central, okay? So this is it. This is what it's here for. We have for far too long, we have not had a true voice to represent that we are still here, alive and well. We have not. And that is the problem of today's society. We have too many people that have come within the community to mislead us, okay? Or for some form of corporate greed, corporate gain, or they're just straight up federales. Oh, man. So funny. 2 birds just pitched on my little fire escape just now. Oh, wow. Damn. Too bad it wasn't hawks. Anyway, peace out, y'all. Enjoy. Have a good one. Travel safe. Stay safe. Brother American Arawak, man. Thank you for being here. Much love.
No problem, man.
To you, brother. Again, to Brother Alex, man. Sister Malkia. To the entire tribe, the entire clan. To the entire tribe, the entire clan in the chat watching. Much love to you guys. Stay safe, travel safe. Make sure that you keep your children educated on what's going on. Don't let them fall for this black paradigm. Once you are indigenous, none of these corporate policies go for you. They can't tell you to shut down your stores. They can't tell you to put that mask on your face so that you can suffocate yourself. And that them 5G towers gotta go. Okay? Mm-hmm. Let's just get our numbers up.
Gofundme in the link. Okay? Links in the description. And when we say indigenous, we sprung from the land, okay? Indigena, as in the Latin meaning of the root word of indigenous, okay? Indigenous is just a broader term to include the people of the earth. All right. We are Indians are taxed. All right. We're gonna stand on that. When pertaining to North America, we are Indians not taxed. But for the rest of the Americas, we're just saying we're indigenous. Okay.
Yes.
That's like that, because you gotta know jurisdiction. You gotta understand what it is. All right.
Yep. Exactly. And this is what the corporate heads fear. All right. But again, much love to you guys. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace out.